Hello and welcome to Jamaica post-Hurricane Melissa, the people, the places, the progress. I'm Donald Oliver. This week on the show, we visit Catherine Hall in Montego Bay to get an update on the progress. We look back at some of the traumatic events they went through. We hear from Mobay Businessman Yoni Epstein about the recovery, and we speak a little about his Jamaica Premier League team, Montego Bay United, as well as the Montego Bay Sports Complex. We sit down with the Mayor of Montego Bay, Richard Vernon, in a special one-on-one interview, and we get another insight from a journalist who covered the hurricane in another installment of the feature, Through Their Eyes. Thanks for joining us for another week. Now, the colors of the Jamaican flag, black, green and gold, once meant hardships they are, but the land is green and the sun shineth. But the black in the flag was changed to showcase the strength and creativity of the people. And we have seen that resilience in other forms since the passage of Hurricane Melissa. The euphoria was expected to begin with Jamaica qualifying for the FIFA World Cup. Needing a win against Curaçao, the Reggae Boys instead drew their match at the National Stadium, leaving thousands of fans disappointed. And while there may still be a fairy tale ending to their story in March, all the Jamaican teams have been stepping up in the meantime. For instance, Jamaica's Reggae Girls secured a historic 18-0 win over Dominica in World Cup qualifying action. Khadijah Shaw scored a hat-trick to take her tally of international goals to 60, scoring at a world record rate of 1.33 goals per game, the highest in global football. In club action, Mount Pleasant FA became the fourth Jamaican club to win the CONCACAF Caribbean Cup, beating the Dominican Republic's Universidad O&M FC 3-2 on aggregate. They drew 2-2 in Tuesday's second leg at the National Stadium in Kingston after winning the first leg 1-0 a week earlier in the Dominican Republic. The Theodore Whitmore coached team had to dig deep, with Tyreek McGee scoring a late equalizer to seal the aggregate win.
No, it's definitely a really good feeling. Worked really hard for it, and for it to play out like that the other night, really grateful for that.
And you can watch McGee's full interview with Daniel Blake on the Sports Club podcast right here on YouTube this Monday. Jamaica also captured its first ever gold medal at an international bobsleigh competition, building on the promise shown 37 years ago when the country first competed at the Winter Olympics, inspiring the film Cool Runnings. The team, composed of Shane Witter, Andre Dakers, Junior Harris and Taekwondo Tracy, beat out Canada to win gold at the International Bobsleigh and Skeleton Federation's North American Cup. Jamaica has been defying the odds in basketball as well at the FIBA America's World Cup qualifiers in San Juan. Having given up home advantage, they were forced to play both legs away to Puerto Rico and defeated them twice. The first game ended 92-90, and they repeated the feat a few days later with a 97-92 win, proving the first win wasn't a fluke. Jamaica is ranked 95th in the world, while Puerto Rico sits at 16th. And in news outside of sport, the Chinese medical ship Ark Silk Road arrived in Jamaica last week and will assist local healthcare professionals in clearing the extensive backlog of elective surgeries postponed due to Hurricane Melissa. The hospital ship has agreed to perform 5 cataract surgeries per day, 4 hernia repairs daily, up to 100 CT scans, 40 ultrasounds, and a range of routine laboratory investigations. The floating hospital, equipped with 8 operating theaters, is currently docked in Montego Bay. Now, the tourist capital of Montego Bay was severely damaged by Hurricane Melissa, and one of the communities hit hard by the storm was Catherine Hall, which suffered catastrophic flooding. The pileup of garbage in this temporary landfill, adjacent to the community of Catherine Hall, almost serves as a monument of memories and possessions washed away or destroyed by the flooding caused by Hurricane Melissa.
It go come up, you know, see there? It come up. It's coming up, it's rising.
A nightmare scene.
The water was really high because the water rose so fast, it actually covered the gate.
It covered this gate here?
Yeah, it covered this gate right here.
The flood reached about 6 feet and rise up. Some places get 8, some places get 9 feet.
So you had to evacuate the house quickly?
Yeah, we have to evacuate the house quickly. Me and my friends and neighbors, we have to take refuge up on the second floor, which I have to put my daughter on my neck.
The water gets brought right here to my chest also.
What was that like? Have you seen anything like this before?
No, I never seen it before.
The damage to the community was so severe that 1 week after the flood, this was what we saw: silt and mud. It was as if Catherine Hall was frozen in the disaster. Scores of cars became relics. Even seasoned paleontologists accustomed to excavating prehistoric fossils would have been overwhelmed by the scale of recovery. Houses were not homes anymore, and the people were crying out for what they wanted immediately: a massive cleanup operation.
What we need more than anything right now, we need detergent, we need stuff to sanitize the area. We need a fire truck come here. Immediately, we have children here. We need assistance, we need help. We need brooms, we need help. We need assistance.
Do you think that they're not moving quickly enough?
They are not moving fast enough. The garbage is leaving from here, that is good. But we need help, we need detergent, we need bleach.
The threat of leptospirosis and other diseases, a never-present danger.
They just had to shoot a guy now, injection a guy now.
Yeah?
For the same mosquito business there.
Right.
He just caught him, he could have died. He could have died. And they just inject him. And lucky he get the injection, it saved his life. From the same thing here. I'm taking a risk. So what I do, I make sure I have my bleach and my water. I make sure I do everything real fast. I try to do my bleach, all of that, real quick. When I finish, I'm going to hold it fresh. A bath in a pan. The hypest is bathing like that right now. We need help.
Yes, the place is flooded. The roads have to be clean. But after everything is put out of the door, we still, like for me, I'm still on a wet mattress at 71 years old.
Okay, can I ask?
So why can't I get a bed to sleep on? I need a bed now, tonight, or I will catch cold and dead by next week.
And we don't have that.
The young mayor of Montego Bay, Richard Vernon, in just his second year in the role, on hand to speak with the residents of Catherine Hall and neighbouring West Green, who had never seen anything like this.
Do we have enough resources? The answer is no. No. Catherine Hall and West Green is a special situation, unprecedented. It has never happened before. And the community is large. We have at least 900 houses here and thousands of citizens. So the risk multiplier, the probability, is higher. So we have to ensure that we clear this space.
And since those cries, the cleanup operations. Trucks filled 100 times over have made their way to and from the community. Some residents at last laying down their trophies for the final time. In the weeks since, just a fleeting hint of normalcy. The streets are cleaner and quiet. It's a weekday, so quite a few were back at work when we visited. The residents are just coping.
Why? We try. We just try. We try. We cope. We try. We not no light. Sometimes we not no water. But we try. We try.
I know in the initial stages it was really very difficult because the cleanup operation took a little time to get going. How have you been able to adapt since then?
No adaptation. We just live one day at a time we come. Can't adapt to this situation, man. Can't adapt to this situation. You just take it one day at a time. One day at a time. Anyhow we come, we just take it. If we come wake up this morning, we have little water, we satisfied. If we don't have no water, we just satisfy same way. What we gonna do?
What is it like here at nights?
Darkness. Well, it's not too bad now, moonshine. It's pretty. The moonshine alright, it don't look too bad. We have a nice moonshine now, but when the moon gone dark and black and ugly, we are tell you, we're not used to it.
And the Christmas this year?
Well, for me, my children will be here for Christmas, I'm sure. But I roast my pork leg and I roast my chicken, but I don't know Christmas. We just all get together and eat and drink, just the same. put on a Christmas. Come and string up no light, and string up no Christmas tree. The spirit not there. The guy look hard for those say, me they eat and drink on Christmas tree light and some people still under the star. You know what I mean? Me can't think about that. We can't think about no Christmas. Individually with my children, we still don't have some food as usual because tradition. But on a Christmas, we don't have no Christmas. We not celebrate no Christmas. No Christmas for me.
It all still seems so surreal, what the residents have been through, and our hearts go out to them as they try to pick up the pieces of their lives. I had a conversation with Yoni Epstein, the founding chairman and CEO of ITEL. He's also in charge of the Jamaica Premier League club, Montego Bay United. Have you had a moment to absorb the scale of what happened in this city?
You know, just going around and driving, the day after the storm, my wife and I rode our bikes around the city because there was so much traffic and it was so difficult to get everywhere. And that kind of gave me a gravity of what, we're faced with. And in the face of adversity, the only way to get back is to get up and start moving. So, immediately it was like, where do we need to go? What do we need to do? Who do we need to call? What support do we need to find? And at all costs, we got to get up and running. I mean, when I look at the business, I've said to our team members, I'm not about making money. I'm about generating income. Because if I can generate income, I can provide you an income. And that is my number one task across the board of every business or organization that I touch, is how do we get back up and generate income, to generate an income for our team members, because that'll allow them to rebuild their lives, have a wage to sustain their basic needs. Because right now, no matter where you live in St. James or across Western Jamaica, you have no water and you have no light. So your most simple and basic needs are at zero right now. So anything to help to make that a little bit easier is what I have found is necessary for me to do right now.
And Montego Bay is known as the tourist capital, so a lot of infrastructure damaged, as well as people's lives being affected in so many ways. I mean, we can take a look at Catherine Hall in particular. We know that the stadium is there, but even the surrounding communities, the struggle that they're going through. I mean, how does the communities in and around Montego Bay move on from this, you think?
I mean, I really have to acknowledge the St. James Municipal Corporation and the mayor and the different councillors and the members of parliament in the area, for particularly Catherine Hall and West Green, because the efforts and the work that has gone into trying to bring back some level of normalcy has been tremendous. It literally, from the day after the storm up until now, it has not stopped 24 hours a day. And that is what they need to get to that first level of whatever you want to call the new normal, So, for everyone else across corporate Jamaica, I know that they have sent trucks of water and food and various and sundries. I saw Rainforest the other day did a soup kitchen in Catherine Hall, and I think that is a start. But there's so many psychological issues that will need to be dealt with after we find that new normal in order to kind of rebuild these communities.
But as we transition into what has taken place at the Montego Bay Sports Complex, it is disheartening because that is the complex outside of the National Stadium in Kingston that represents Jamaica, and of course it's a premier facility in Western Jamaica. Mm-hmm. Have you seen it?
I've been there, yeah. And as you know, of commentating multiple games for Montego Bay United and others there, to us it's our fortress. We have a an unbeatable record there. No team comes to Montego Bay and gets away with even a point. and we've created that over the last several years. To see that, come to the destruction that has happened is hard to see. Not only for the club, but for the fans and the community that find solace in coming to an MBU game at Catherine Hall.
You wanted to concretize that love and support with a lease from the government. What has been the latest in that agreement?
So you say wanted,
yeah.
We still want.
Yes.
And we're still in the process, Obviously, due to the storm, things have kind of been pushed to the back burner, but we are still working through avenues to ensure that that lease is still concretized. Again, in the face of adversity, as I said at the beginning, where you have life, you can rebuild. I think this is even a greater opportunity now to liken it to the next national stadium in Jamaica. It's an opportunity to do everything we wanted to do, get the field even better than we had it, look at the track, upgrade the lighting. So these things will take time, but I think it is an even greater opportunity now to kind of start from scratch and rebuild it.
So it doesn't scare you? You don't want to walk away from this?
Absolutely not.
How comes?
When you give yourself to something, and I look at the club as it's a business. Football is a business, and sports is the biggest business in the world. You can't walk away from it. You have the lives of the players, you have the lives of your technical staff, you have the lives of your supporters, and they look to this not only to earn an income, but they look to this to support. I mean, we all love sports. We run around the world and watch sports because of that feel-good feeling that you get from it. And we took this project on in 2023, and it is our duty to bring it back even greater than what we had built it to over the last couple of seasons.
Has the value decreased in terms of what has happened in the aftermath of Hurricane Melissa? Because the cleanup operation is going to be huge. I'm tempted to not call it a cleanup operation because it's a little bit more than that. Yeah. But people would look on and say, well, yesterday's price is certainly not today's price. I mean, have you been able to sort of view it from that perspective? I
haven't even gotten there yet. I mean, as an entrepreneur, you're an internal optimist, right? Mm-hmm. So my mind originally and right away went to what can we do to level up what we had on the books originally.
Mm-hmm. Give us a peek as to the big dream that you had initially, because I'm not sure if you've been able to really articulate what you want from the Montego Bay Sports Complex and how far away or closer to that dream it is at this point in time.
Well, I think the dream is still very much there. It may be pushed out a little bit because you're starting from a blank canvas almost, right?
So that's not a positive.
What?
Starting from a blank.
Absolutely, I think it is because there's nothing changed in what we wanted to do. As the proposal indicated, we want to bring back track and field. Right. So now we move a little bit faster. We want to bring back more than just MBU football there. So that means upgrading the lights to CONCACAF levels. Mm-hmm. We've already gotten the proposal, so we know what that's going to cost and what it's going to do. We wanted to really turn it into not just about major sporting events, but what can people do there every day? Small-sided football pitches, pickleball, a youth academy pitch where you can play up to U13 matches on because it's played on a much smaller field. The training ground for the players, player housing and things like that. That's not only for MBU, but if other traveling teams can come in. So I think the opportunities are endless, and because you have somewhat of a blank canvas, you can build to that immediately.
Now it's time to hear from the Montego Bay Mayor, Richard Vernon. He's just 35 years old, but already he's making a name in politics. He has been mayor a little over a year, but he faces possibly the biggest task a political representative at this level has ever faced in modern Jamaican history. I caught up with him at his office in St. James, and he was gracious enough to sit with me for a few minutes to speak about the recovery effort as well as future plans. Mr. Mayor, thank you so much for doing this interview. First of all, it's the first time I'm actually coming to the municipal office, and it's really nice. Although I saw some damage here because of Hurricane Melissa, how were you able to go through that? And I know that you're still working on the building itself.
Welcome to the St. James Municipal Corporation and to the precincts of our chamber. This is our council chamber. Yeah, we have sustained damages, not just to this building, but to several of our assets, to the tune of over $750 million. But we have been doing as best as possible to restore much of them, especially the ones that we need to survive. The revenue generators, the car parks, for example. We're looking at the market, but that has sustained significant damage. So we have to be now looking at the market district. We will go into further details when we meet as a committee later next week to look at that. But here we have restored all our operations at Municipal Corporation Center. And we have altered the attendance time of the employees. They now leave at about 3 because we have to give consideration to those who are traveling to other sections of St. James, not just those who live in Montego Bay. They are still without electricity in some sections, so they have to get home early enough so they can be safe.
In the early aftermath of Hurricane Melissa, there was a lot of concentration on relief as well as rescue, of course, operations. In your opinion, how did that go for you?
At first, the relief efforts, they were a little bit haphazard. Persons coming in trying to provide relief to citizens based on the information that they may have received from social media or calls that they may have received from persons in communities saying that they need things. But we managed to coordinate it over time. And now we have a proper report system to get updates as to what is happening. So we look at it on two fronts: official relief provided and unofficial. So the official ones we can account for from the Jamaica Defense Force, from TEF, from the Municipal Corporation, through the councillors to the divisions, the Ministry of Labour and Social Security. We can count those, and there are several others, but that is to the tune of 100,000 care packages distributed across the municipality of St. James thus far. For the unofficial, sometimes you get a report, sometimes you don't.
Right.
So a business will come in and they'll say that we're doing some care packages. Where could we bring them? Because we want to know who needs assistance, and we might make a suggestion to a community based on where we think we have the gaps. After we have done the recording and collated the information and you've seen that this community could do more with some assistance. And we will say, all right, go to X community, and they bring 300. But when you count those, then you realize that there's much contribution from private sector. And I must commend many of our Montegonians who decided to go out there, convert their business to distribution centers. Some did cook food, some did packages, and some in the entertainment industry. They have stepped forward and decided to provide assistance in Montego Bay, some of our very own Montegonians here.
What if it was only an official response and the private sector didn't come in? What would it look like?
It would be good, but at the same time you have to consider that we still need to do more, even with government and private sector partnering, because the extent of the damage is significant. This is a category 5, the first one in the Caribbean. And how do you bounce back from that? Jamaica will be a learning process for everybody involved globally, because this is the first time that they have witnessed something like this. The first time they have experienced something like this for those who are here, and they will want to learn from Jamaica, how we manage a disaster, how we prepared for it. And how we prepared for it is the usual, but how you manage to recover after a Cat 5 will be a case study for the rest of the world and the rest of the Caribbean.
And the recovery would have probably gone the day after, because of course we would have visited some shelters, and there are a lot of gaps, especially in that system, as to helping residents either try to be as comfortable as possible in their environment, because of course in a lot of shelters there wouldn't have been beds or stuff like that, and I think residents were advised to carry stuff from home. But of course in a Cat 5 situation, you carry little from home, and sometimes it's damaged, so there's a lot of quick movement. So we like to say that we plan for the worst case scenario. From this position now, looking back, were you fully prepared for the Cat 5?
I don't think we can be fully prepared for a Cat 5.
Okay.
This Cat 5 came with other things.
Right.
So whilst we were prepared to deal with wind and some rain, we weren't prepared for flooding in Catherine Hall, West Green. And we normally send out the advisory, and the advisory is national. Cover your windows, you back them up. So Jamaicans understand, back up your windows so that any type of projectiles moving around in the air, in the wind, it will not smash out your windows, smash out your doors, protect yourselves, store water, store food, this, that, you name it. It also is a part of it. The consideration is also a part of the whole thing, where how long will you need to store for? Because it depends now on the extent of damage to the infrastructure. When we started the recovery process and we looked at some of the areas that we were able to recover quickly over the same period of time last year following Beryl, it wasn't the same. Last year, we did not have ruptured lines for the National Water Commission, for example. This time we had ruptured lines, dislocated lines, damaged infrastructure, so they were not able to power up some of their stations and supply water readily. Same thing with the Jamaica Public Service Company. Last year, Beryl to a lesser extent damaged some of the infrastructure. We said that we sustained moderate damage compared to what happened in St. Elizabeth. This year, not so. This year, when you look at some of the areas, even yesterday I was at their incident command station, and when we were looking at the Rosal area, they said that there's so much damaged poles in that area, they stopped counting. So the impact is huge. So in preparing for it, it's not something that you just prepare for because you don't know what is going to happen. We are as prepared as the agencies are to supply food, to supply water, trucking of water, to ensure that we provide rescue in some situations. And even in that case, we had a challenge. How do you rescue 4,000 people in a Catherine Hall West Green area? You said that you're ready for it. And then the three rivers came together, the sea. Well, some person said two rivers, the Pie River, the Barnet, because the Montego River flows into the Barnet area, then they call it the Barnet River. And then you had a storm surge. So how do you prepare for a storm surge and a hurricane, a Category 5 hurricane, and provide rescue to 4,000 people?
Has there been full analysis done on what exactly took place in terms of the flooding?
No, that wouldn't be ready as yet. That would need some technical assessment. Okay. And I believe the National Works Agency will lead on that, and NROC, where possible, provide support. But what happened was unprecedented. Never happened before, nor have we heard anything documented to that extent. You will hear persons talk about June flood. The June flood was in another area closer to the Bogue section. Well, it was in the Bogue area. Never had the housing development that we do in Catherine Hall. So when we look at the magnitude of a flood and the extent of damage and impact, we see this as a bigger flood than the June flood because of the number of people impacted, the entire business district. So we do as best as we can where the emergency protocols are concerned, disaster preparation protocols are concerned. We try to maximize our efforts in that type of preparation. Now, in looking back at what transpired, we now need to look at the area from a flood standpoint. Do we need to put in early warning systems in the Catherine Hall West Green area, evacuation plan for that area, do the same thing for Montego Bay. So we will now have to invest in adoption than to say that we are going to prepare for an area and don't know exactly the extent of the damage that will come to the area. So adaptation is the way forward.
But you need that analysis to be done in order to plan for the future, I suppose. So is there a timeline on that? Because there needs to be, things being put in place from early.
Certainly. Right now we are focused much more on the recovery, getting things back to normal.
Right.
And then the studies, they will have to come from academia as well. that will guide us. The consultations, all of those will have to be done. That will guide how we move forward in terms of agenda setting and developing policies to deal with certain type of situations. Not all of it can be done locally. We are most of the executors on the ground. We have to send much of these information, and much of what is derived from those studies will have to be sent to central government so they can help with developing the necessary disaster plan to help us to put that disaster plan together. Even though we have a local mandate to do a parish disaster plan, they will have to provide some support where that is concerned for it to be done in a timely manner, because these things, they do need financial backing to get them complete in a timely manner. We are working on our local sustainable development plan now, and I'm certain that the officers who are working on that plan will take this into consideration, because a part of a local sustainable development plan must be a disaster plan, and a part of the disaster plan must be the evacuation plan and the systems that you will implement from those plans to ensure that we increase safety and to mitigate certain risks associated with disasters.
Another question is, how do you rebuild, right? Because that's obviously a long-term plan as well. Obviously, Jamaica has been receiving some international support. And I suppose that you and your councillors will be the ones that will be doing the nitty-gritty of the work and stuff like that. So do you have an idea as to, one, the timeline and what you anticipate in the coming months?
We will take guidance from the Prime Minister's office, and I'm sure that the National Works Agency will provide.
It's not the other way around, that he would take guidance from you because you're on the floor.
In terms of the funding.
Okay.
Right, but in terms of what needs to be done, that comes from the ground.
Okay.
So we can give that information to say that these are the things that we see as priority. These roads need to be fixed. And also the members of parliament, they will be advocating for the work to be done in their constituency as well. I know that St. James Eastern, or Eastern St. James, East Central St. James, right? That constituency suffered immense infrastructural damage.
Right.
From the St. Irwin Main Road, there is recorded damage all the way up to Moore Park area, the Adelphi Space, Johns Hall, significant infrastructural damage. So the minister, who is the member of parliament, Edmund Bartlett, he will be advocating for that to be done in here. So we can make these recommendations. Our superintendent of roads and works, he has done his investigation, his assessment of the area where has been damaged, and in the consultation process, they will make recommendations through the department to the minister, who is responsible for the National Works Agency, to deal with that part. And then in terms of the directive of how the allocation will be done, dispersed, and what it will be spent on.
Nationally, the figure is out there, over $8 billion US dollars. So I'm thinking that Mayor and your councillors and other parishes and their councils would have offered in dollar figures and said, this is how we've come to this figure. So I'm wondering if that has been done.
There are different figures to look at.
Right. So
one figure is one that I gave earlier, and that is for our assets, the direct assets of the municipal corporation. They're $750 million. So, for example, we have to repair sections of the arcade,
right,
which is a craft market, the craft market. We have to repair the Charles Garden Market, Jared Park, Catchenall Stadium.
Montego Bay Sports Complex, right?
Right. So we have to repair these things. The municipal assets, the roadways, the parochial roadways destroyed, that is the ongoing process.
Okay.
That is the part now that the superintendent would have given a preliminary damage assessment number, and then now have to go ahead to do the detailed assessment to say what will it cost to reconstruct this road, to reconstruct this bridge, so that you can know the true damage for the municipality.
What have you learned in this experience personally and in leading the people here? Because you've been here a little over a year.
I believe many people would have and are still learning many things from our purview at the municipal corporation. We learned that we need to tighten and to reinforce. I shouldn't use "and" as yet. Tighten, reinforce, and improve the capacity of local government. Not the Ministry of Local Government, but the local authorities.
What's missing? You said improve the capacity. What's missing?
We have to ensure that the local authorities can properly coordinate through law the response of all entities involved in the response process.
Give an example as to how that has been lacking.
In preparation, in response, and in recovery.
Okay.
Yeah? In terms of it being lacking, it's not necessarily that it is lacking. It's that there are need for improvement in some areas. So, for example, a ministry agency will get a directive from the ministry to execute a particular task, whilst the municipality wants to focus on another one. So you're getting the information from a central standpoint when there are local matters that we have to address immediately. And we believe that these local matters are more of a priority than what is directed by a particular ministry to get done. So there we need to improve coordination. But because it depends on collaboration for the coordination to happen, as opposed to a legislative framework for that coordination to happen, then you find that improvement is needed to ensure that we can service the space better. You spoke of gaps, for example, and it will come out at a certain point in time, and I will tell you as well, and I've made it known in several spaces and at several levels, that how we distribute packages, for example, the distribution goes, for example, say through the Jamaica Defense Force to these communities. Now, how we could improve that is that you do the distribution through the local authority with the support of the Jamaica Defense Force. So then you do the distribution from MLSS to the local authority. JDF provides transport and support, and it is also supported by the Jamaica Constabulary Force. Why? The municipal corporations work all day, every day, is to keep in touch with the people. We are the first responders. They call us for garbage. They call us for light. They call us for everything that you can think of, literally. And we have that profile and database of needs for the municipality. No area in government has that better than us.
Right.
And we have a registered list of poor, over 1,500 here in St. James, that we service through our poor relief department, the oldest department in government. Right? And we also have access to the persons who are registered disabled persons, persons who are senior citizens, the vulnerable groups. So we know how to reach them. So that structure that we have through local government to service communities, community roads, community centers, community meetings, city hall meetings, you name it. It's the same framework that you use for the distribution of packages and to respond in time of disaster.
It is now time for another edition of Through Their Eyes as we turn to the eyewitnesses of Hurricane Melissa, the journalists who documented it, the community members who survived it, and those now driving recovery efforts. Their first-hand accounts reveal the story behind the headlines. This week we hear from our own Casey Williams.
Being a survivor of an accident where I was the only person in my family to be able to live to tell the tale. Lost my mom, my father, and my sister. And the other person, another vehicle who caused the crash, he also died. I don't think my tragedy can be compared to those out west. I really don't think that. I didn't necessarily put much thought into what I would see, because you have to just go with an open mind. You go to report what is there. So from the morning when I went out and we're going down Spur Tree, you had the typical down trees, and I said to myself, I didn't see some of the utility poles down like what I saw with Beryl. So I said, okay, I'm hoping that this isn't as bad. And as you progress further west, you went into places like Santa Cruz. It was just mud covered the roads in Santa Cruz, right? It was like a mess. And I was still saying, all right, hoping for the best. And into an area now like Black River, Luana going to Black River, It's as if you dropped a bomb in Black River. That's how everything looked. And remember now, it's the sea that caused that damage. I recall hearing the firefighters, the police, even members of the military talking about their experience. The fire truck at the Black River fire station was covered with water. And then the part about it that hurt now is that the people, when you see people basically looting, some of them looting to survive, some of them looting out of greed. But it was just painful to see. You're really wondering, is this Jamaica? But yes, it was the reality on the ground. And when I went to Westmoreland, I can remember going to Belmont Academy. And when I got there, jumped out of the observer vehicle, there was a blind man. He was being led by a friend. And I introduced myself to him. And he said, "Oh, yes, boss, I feel good, can we get some food?" He was talking about this bag, basically those long poly bags that the JDF brought to Belmont Academy. So he was saying to me that, "Chief, everything mash up, everything mash up." And it's like, we're hungry, And even yesterday, a 2 hot dog we get, out of White House, and we have to share it up, 2 hot dog, And I said, 2 hot dogs? 2 hot dogs? And the way he was saying about it, I know that he was talking about his family. And when the gentleman said to me that, "Chief, but we know hope are coming, we know hope is coming," he was referring to being at a neighbor's house, because his house was gone, and hearing what he said, "Boop, boop, boop." We know the helicopter come, the helicopter, the JDF helicopter. That's how he was led from that house to the Belmont Academy, where the JDF was using a field there to land helicopters. And I can tell you that is when I cried. Scores of people, they have to be just around to the side of the buildings, and they have to just wait. They can't touch nothing, and they have to be there waiting. And then soldiers were calling their names afterwards, so they couldn't just go and take up anything, because they were doing order. And I was just there feeling so bad, because I'm saying, look at what this storm has brought us to. Look at what it has brought our people to. All in my mind, is this really Jamaica? Places that you would normally see, even when you go to a place like Border. At that time, this was the Sunday after the storm. I remember seeing this lady called Miss Ivy. She was there frying fish. She was one of the few people, the vendors, who said that, look, the house is gone, the roof is gone, but they are out there trying to make a living. And from that small fire, they started to show hope just a few days after. And at this point in time, Border is building back. Not as strong as before, but it is building back. And I can tell you that people are fighting back in the West. It's just a terrible sight. Whatever you saw online is nothing compared to what you see in person. Nothing. Nothing can prepare you for it. And if you go there and you don't cry, I don't think you're human. I don't think you're human. Imagine people work for 40 years, their whole life, the whole saving is in a structure, and it's either gone or extensively damaged. The wind and the water just come and take it away. So it has only made me stronger, and to make me be more grateful for whatever blessings I have, and be able to share it as well with others. So imagine people in the central or western, the central eastern part of Jamaica, those overseas, and they just don't know what happened to their families. That alone was nerve-wracking, right? It's just a painful ordeal. This is something that I don't wish to see ever again in my lifetime. I really hope that we don't get any disaster like this ever again during my lifetime. Imagine somebody losing everything, but guess what? The one message that everybody always said, thank God they have life. That's something that resonated right across the board out west. people in St. Elizabeth, people in Westmoreland, they're saying, well, we have life, you know. I remember the gentleman tell that he's blind. He said that if the storm come on night, we're dead. We're dead. And he's still saying, thank God for life. It's a tough time. And as I explained, traveling from east to west, from the day after, the further west you went, it's the worse it got. And name it, I have seen it. People travel for miles just to get some water, dirty water. They were using it to wash their clothes. And some of them take it to say, boy, they're hoping that they can carry it up the boil to get water to drink. But along the way, innovation came. There are many people who helped, many organizations, other citizens, Jamaicans, people overseas. And I must tell you that to all those who helped, thank you. I saw some of them, I spoke to some of them, I covered stories with them. From those who packed case of water to bring in warm meals from as far as Portland, thank you. Thank you for being your brother's keeper. And thank you for responding to the calls, even those made by people who, as journalists, we spoke to.
Thanks, Casey. And that's it for another edition of Jamaica Post Hurricane Melissa, the people, the places, the progress. Thank you so much for tuning in. The journey on this recovery is a long one. And while we continue to hold our leaders accountable, let us at the same time continue to lift the communities which have been affected. It is just the beginning after all, so be kind in the process. I'm Donald Oliver. See you next time. Godspeed.